In life, there are moments that remind us how everything is fragile. So a little bit over a month ago, I lost my best friend, who was also a colleague. She was very young, in her early 30s. And just like that, she passed away. She was one of the brightest, most positive person I have ever met. And she was more than a friend. She was also an advisor, and I shared with her everything. Together, we talked about everything, whether it was personal or professional, and we tackled so many problems together. And now, she's gone. Grief is a very difficult process, especially when we have to go to work and still manage the demands of work. It's hard to show up, and it's hard to be present, especially when your mind is elsewhere. It's very hard to make sense of something as heavy as loss. And for me, especially, the social aspects of work, especially the chit-chatting and talking to people, has been extremely difficult. My social battery has been completely depleted by the grieving process. There are expectations in many workplaces that we leave our personal problems at home, or at least try to leave as much as we can of our personal problems at home. But that's not always possible, and grief doesn't follow a schedule. Some days, you might feel completely fine, and other days, out of nowhere, grief strikes. And then the weight of it hits you again. It can be weeks, even months later. And that's okay. What I've learned through this extremely painful experience is that it's really important to give ourselves the time to grieve and the space to do so. Yes, sometimes work can be a distraction, and that's good. But regardless of whether work is a distraction or not, mental health is key. And it's critical that we take care of ourselves. And that can also mean taking a step back and not focusing on work as much as usual while going through this process. Because let's be honest, life is short. It can all change in one instant. We spend so much time at work chasing goals, chasing our ambitions. But at the end of the day, it's the people we love that actually matter most. We need to cherish them. We need to show them love. This experience has reminded me that while work is important, it's not everything, and it shouldn't take precedent over our loved ones and taking care of our families. And of course, we should find joy in what we do, because if we're going to spend so much time working, we should at least be happy doing so, or working towards a purpose that fulfills us. Just like my friend and my colleague, who really, truly loved their job. Now, I shared this and I share my experience about grief because all of us at one point or another in our lives will all have to go through this. And sadly, it's really not something we talk about in workplaces. And we don't talk about how to handle grief while working. We tend to separate work and life, but in reality, they're intertwined. And grief doesn't fit neatly in a box outside of work. It really doesn't. It spills over, and we shouldn't feel guilty about letting it do so. So it's important to take the time to grieve and to lean on our support systems, whether it's friends or families or even colleagues. And don't feel pressure to bounce back too quickly. It's okay to grieve, and it's okay to tell your colleagues you're grieving. And please remember to cherish your loved ones. Life is precious, and so are the people you share it with.